Hey guys, Hamsterwheel here with a new video and welcome to my review of Dalaran WoW. You see, I've been playing here for about 8 to 9 months, and after doing my fair share of raiding here, I figured I might as well look back at my time here, summarize the things I saw, and share my thoughts with you guys. So, for starters, what is Dalaran WoW? Well, Dalaran WoW is a 3.3.5 Wrath of the Lich King server with 1x raids for everything. They have 2 servers open. The first one being their main realm, Algalon. The population there hovers at around 1,000 people during the evening and somewhere around 500 to 700 during the afternoon, server time that is. The second realm is Kirin Tor, which is a realm with all the content open without any progression, though it seems like the Kirin Tor realm barely has anyone playing on it, as all the zones look barren and even the /who feature shows only 37 people online when I decided to give it a quick look. An important thing to note is that yes, this server does have a cash shop. However, the vote and donation rewards that you can get are either epics from previous expansions, vanity items like mounts, bags and pets, and heirloom items. So basically you cannot buy yourself a full set of tier 9 and start doing endgame raids right away. You still have to start where everyone else starts, in normal dungeons, then heroic dungeons, and then slowly work your way up to the raids. Another thing worth noting is that they do allow things like race change, faction change, and even boosting your character to level 70, and this is all available for donation points. One last thing worth noting when looking at the website is that they do have a refer a friend feature for 3x leveling rate instead of just 1x, which is nice if you feel like the 1x rate is a little too slow for you. Anyway, let's start off with my experiences leveling here. I have to say that leveling here was quite smooth. Many of the quests are indeed working great. A lot of the non-generic killing quests, especially the ones in Northrend content, seem to work as intended. For instance, the Sons of Hodir quest chain worked just fine. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage of that, as I completed that a long time ago. However, not all quests are working like they should. For the review, I decided to do the Argent Crusade quests in the western part of Icecrown Citadel, which are my go-to benchmark quests, because they're fun quests to do, and they have a lot of different mechanics, animations and whatnot. So how did it go? Well, things didn't go as smooth as I hoped they would. First of all, the dragons that you have to use to pick up survivors had some weird animation bugs, and then during the part where you have to defend the camp, the mobs kept evading and disappearing even though I didn't kill them, making it rather annoying and tedious to complete this quest. So when it comes to questing, it's still great as a boatload of quests are still working as intended. It's really good, but as you saw, it's not perfect just yet. The dungeons are fine as well, at both low level and high level, and all the scripts and animations seem in order. For instance, in the Scarlet Monastery during the Mograine fight, we see the correct mechanic of us being put to sleep, the correct dialogue popping up, and Mograine being rest. Then we take a trip to the Dead Mines with my 80 lock just to see how the animations and mechanics are working here. So the doors here, they work just fine. The cannon, also fine. All the bosses, yep, they work great. And this is just one of many dungeons here on the server that is running smoothly, so Dalaran definitely deserves some credit for pulling that off. I have to come back to the population though. I wish it was a little bit higher, cause some zones do feel a little barren, and sometimes you have to wait quite a bit to find a group with the dungeon finder while you're leveling. But for now we'll just have to make do. Also during my time playing here, I noticed the occasional server disconnect out of nowhere, so it seems like Dalaran WoW has the same issue that Phoenix had for years. So what about the PvE content at level 80? Well, like I said a few minutes ago, I, just like everyone else here, started doing normal dungeons at level 80 and then progressed through heroic dungeons to slowly but surely gear myself up for next 10. I have to say that the dungeons themselves are working great. There's lots of animations and mechanics that have to work, and I haven't really been able to discover any game-breaking bugs. Sure, there's the very odd visual bug or two, but nothing really gets in the way of the overall experience. After getting some gear and getting my friends together, we set off to do Naxxramas. Once again, I was impressed with the quality of the content, as again I could not find any major bugs and I had a blast in Naxxramas. It's also funny to know that I did Naxxramas in vanilla, but we never got to Kel'Thuzad with my old guild. So when I ran next 10 on the server with my friends, it was the very first time that I got to see Kel'Thuzad and kill him, so that was kind of awesome. Anyway, after that it was time for Ulduar, and in Ulduar things started to get a little wonky. The beginning was great, all the siege engines worked fine and we steamrolled through the Flame Leviathan, no pun intended. But once we progressed further into Ulduar, we started noticing some things that were off. For instance, the slag pot mechanic during the fight with Ignis the Furnace Master is bugged, as sometimes you're not in the slag pot when this should very well be the case. Another bug is the lightning tendrils mechanic during the Iron Council. Normally the boss should rise up and cast lightning beams which do damage, yet sometimes these beams are bugged and don't do any damage at all. So if you're lucky, your raid will have the bugged tendrils at all time, and this way you can totally cheese this fight. The last major bug we found was at Yogg-Saron. During this fight, certain raid members will get the debuff called Malady of the Mind, which will cause you to get feared, and one of our raid members actually got feared through the wall and ended up outside the room where we were fighting Yogg-Saron, and thus he could not get back into the fight, which was really annoying. Also, like I said before, the server disconnects here can really mess up a great attempt at a boss fight, so that's also quite a nuisance.
Ja, gewoon alleen maar geen blad. Ja, alleen maar blad.
Nog een bloodlust. DC.
What?
Oh no!
And it's over! That's all, folks!
And then after Ulduar, we did Trial of the Crusader. I'm happy to say that here we didn't encounter any annoying bugs. The only thing I could find was one of the banshees kind of spazzing out after we killed them. Yep, the only thing I could find in that raid was a very minor visual bug, and that's it. So, hats off to Dalaran there. As I said before, ICC, Ruby Sanctum, and a few other dungeons still haven't been released, so it'll be interesting to see how well everything's working there once we can do that content. For now though, the raids here on Dalaran are not exactly perfect, with Ulduar having some issues here and there. However, when I look at everything as a whole, it's still pretty darn good. Alright, so what about PvP? Well, for starters, I decided to check out Wintergrasp, and it's not just a 10 vs 10 brawl or anything like that. There is a lot of things that need to work, like the vehicles you can build, the walls and towers that you should be able to destroy, and much more. Turns out Wintergrasp here works accordingly with all the vehicles working, so that is a big plus. What about the battlegrounds? Well, I barely ever touch battlegrounds here, so it would be unfair of me to judge them. However, my friends here do a lot more PvP than I do, so I asked them how things are on Dalaran WoW when it comes to the battlegrounds and arena. So unfortunately there's not a whole lot of battlegrounds going on, and you'll spend a lot of time waiting in the queue. There's also barely any 3 vs 3 and 5 vs 5 battles going on, but there are a fair amount of 2 vs 2 battles present on Dalaran WoW, and there's definitely a good competitive scene in that 2v2 bracket, as my friends are having a lot of fun trying to climb up their way to the top of the ladder. So, in a nutshell, according to what I know and what I heard, PvP here works pretty darn good. It just doesn't happen a whole lot, which is kind of a shame if you're the type of person who would love to just go from battleground to battleground without having to wait a long time in the queue. So now it's time to wrap things up. What do I think of Dalaran WoW? Well, to put it simply, Dalaran WoW is a great Wrath Lich King private server with a decent population, a pretty stable server, and most of the content here is working great. It's nice to see that not all of the content is out yet, so not everyone is running around in full best in slot gear, and there's still stuff to look forward to. However, Dalaran WoW isn't perfect. Yes, the population is decent, but it could be better, as some zones just feel empty and the queue times for random dungeons and battlegrounds is, on average, a little bit too long for my taste. Luckily, there's tons of pugs being organized almost every night for raids, such as Nextramus and Ulduar, so when it comes to your endgame PVE fix, you can definitely get it here. There are some wonky quests here and there, and the random server disconnects can be quite annoying, but none of the cons I saw on the server are deal breakers. I'll have to be honest though and say that I've seen better scripting on Gamer District, as their content is exceptionally good. Still though, if you're looking for a Blizz-like 1x raid Wrath Lich King server and you don't really mind the cash out with their vanity items, then Dalaran WoW is definitely a good choice. Well guys, that concludes my review of Dalaran WoW. I hope this was helpful to you, and as always, I want to thank you for watching this video. I'm Hamsterwheel, and have a good... Aw, god damn it!